Hey everybody, Vegan Preppers here with an informational video for you guys. This video is going to be all about substitutions for common animal product foods, such as eggs, dairy, and meats, which pretty much covers almost all of the animal product foods. So there's a distinct possibility that there is going to be some shortages on the horizon. In some places, the price of eggs have already skyrocketed, and it's anticipated that that will continue to increase.
Meats too.
Yeah, meats as well.
The board, yeah.
So we're just starting to see the real effects of the last year of interrupted workforce and interrupted shipping, and now with additional gas shortages, there is more possibility of those shortages to increase. So we can expect to see food prices going up, hopefully not too much, but we can expect food prices to keep going up. So yeah, we are starting to see the result of the last year of chaos. So the initial shortages were hoarding shortages, and these shortages would be real shortages because of the last year. So with that, to try to reduce the stress of going to the store and not finding the thing that you expected to find, we have all these substitutions that we hope will be very helpful to people. I mean, really, for people who are going to the store to buy those products, hopefully we can give something that is an alternative that they can find in the store. And also for people that are already vegetarian, already vegan, that might not have this information yet, for substitutions to things that they used to eat. So hopefully we can be of value to people across the board. And I guess with that, we will go ahead and get into it. And you want to start with egg substitutes?
Yeah, sure. Get into it, yeah. Yes, and so also the other thing about it that I think is great is if you're looking for something that is really hard to find, like everybody is going after eggs or everybody's going after cow milk. But if you have these other things in mind, even if you can't find the other thing, it's also possible you're going to be looking for something that not everyone is searching for, because not everybody is searching for this stuff. They might not have this information. So hopefully, again, this is about easing suffering and easing stress, especially for people who are not vegan. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and actually get right into it. Okay, so for egg substitutes, it's kind of like, for me, I think about the function of eggs. So in baking, there are three primary functions that eggs serve in baking. So number one, you have binding, you have rising or lifting, and you have moisture. A lot of times is the functions that eggs are serving. So a lot of times figuring out which substitute to use ends up kind of being something that you have to kind of think about, like, what function are the eggs serving in this recipe? And then that will inform your decision about what substitute you use. But just as a quick overview, for something with binding power, you're looking at flaxseed or chia seeds. Ideally they would be ground. So like these are not ground yet, but you would grind them up for use in your recipes. You can either use them the way most recipes do to create your flax or chia egg first, usually by taking a tablespoon of ground flax or chia, putting it in 3 tablespoons to a quarter cup of water and mixing it up, and then letting it sit for 10 or 15 minutes, and you'll end up with kind of a gelatinous substance that's actually pretty similar in texture to like a goopy egg, which you mix into your recipe, and then that creates a binder. Or a lot of times, because I'm like, I don't want to say I'm lazy, because I'm not lazy, but I'm efficient actually. I don't like doing that and spending that time, and I haven't found a single time when I couldn't just toss the dry ground flax or chia in with my dry ingredients, and then you increase the liquid just a little bit, not even actually usually the full quarter cup, and then mix it all up, and then it still creates the binding. and you're good. So for the binder, flax and chia. For lift, you're looking usually at something like apple cider vinegar or lemon juice, which will be reacting with the baking soda or baking powder or whatever in the recipe to give you a little bit of extra lift. And then for moisture, a lot of times you can add in maybe a little bit of applesauce, a little bit of banana. Although if you're going with like a full flax egg, that's already adding some moisture because there's water there. But that's just as kind of just to be thinking about it. But also for to kind of take some of the guesswork out, you could get yourself something like Bob's Red Mill egg replacer, and this is my personal favorite egg replacer. It has all just like very natural ingredients. It's just potato starch, tapioca flour, baking soda, and psyllium husk fiber. There's no like weirdness in there. That's all that's in there, and this works perfectly. In fact, this is the one that is, I think, pretty much necessary for making a good cookie. Like if you want a cookie that's going to have a texture of a cookie that you're used to, the flax egg doesn't really work very well. You really want to be using this. And so I actually used this when I finally cracked the code for my carob crinkle cookies, which you like.
I do like those.
Yes, you like those a lot. Those are like some really delicious cookies that I was working so like I was struggling to make those because of the fact that the recipe calls for 4 eggs. And I did every mix that you can think of all of this stuff, trying to figure out how to get the texture right. And finally I was like, I'm just gonna get some of this stuff. And I just basically threw in enough, or I think I did 2 eggs worth of this, or I'm trying to remember. I wrote it down. Anyway, I used this and it was finally the crinkle cookies that we remember from back in the day when I used to make them with eggs. Really good. So anyway, save yourself some legwork, some headaches. You can get some of that and that will help you out a lot. And also it was so funny. We were trying to think of like, what do you use eggs for? We've been vegan so long we don't even remember. Also, if you need like a whipped egg white type thing for a recipe, like you're using, like even making a mousse or something that requires lift, like an egg white, use aquafaba, which is the liquid out of a can of chickpeas. It's literally, you just whip it and it turns into peaks like egg whites. And if you use something like 4 ounces of this, which I think is about a 1/4 cup of aquafaba, for every 1/4 cup of aquafaba, if you use a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar, it will make them much more stable and you'll get a higher lift in some of your baked goods or your mousses or whatever. You'll get better structure if you add that little bit of cream of tartar. So that's an FYI. But then as far as like not in cooking or like in baking, and you're thinking of things like breakfast, like if you really love to have scrambled eggs or a breakfast burrito or something, then I would say like probably the best thing would be tofu scramble. So tofu scramble, you just get yourself some, usually we use firm or extra firm tofu, and sort of crumble it up in the pan with all the fixins that you normally put into some really delicious skillet, you know, scrambled eggs, your onion, your pepper, your flavorings. I usually add garlic and like hot sauce, and it's just, you know, mix it all up. And then if you add a little turmeric for that yellow color, you have an absolutely delicious pile of like a scrambled egg type dish. It's
Yep.
really good. I'm not gonna say it tastes exactly the same, but it's like,
If you add a little black salt, you can approximate more of the egg flavor if you're into that sulfury egg
oh yeah,
flavor.
the kala namak is how you might see that, and I'll put it on the screen. So yeah, either black salt or it's called kala namak if you're looking for it in the like international market. But yeah, you're right. That has like a sulfur taste to it. Oh yeah, in fact, there was that time we did deviled potatoes, like instead of eggs, because deviled eggs was a thing that we used to have all the time for Easter. And in the recipe, we used my faux Parmesan recipe, but we used kala namak instead of regular salt, and mashed it with the potato and then like put it back in the potatoes or whatever, and it tasted exactly the same. So that one did taste exactly the same as the like the yellow part of the hard-boiled egg.
Yeah.
It was like the exact same flavor. It was kind of weird. It was like, how does that taste so much like it? So you're so right. That salt really does give that flavor. So I completely forgot about that. So if you kind of mash up a little potato with my faux Parmesan recipe using Kalanamaka instead of regular salt. My faux Parmesan recipe is already on the channel under the playlist vegan home cooking. And then you can actually get that taste of like a mashed egg yolk.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's good to know. So yeah, anyway. Okay. So yeah, breakfast tofu scramble. And then also you can put it into a tortilla with like little hash browns and stuff like that and make yourself the most amazing breakfast burrito ever. And especially like if you wrap it up in something like that, you would never miss the egg. Like you would never like know that it was an egg in there. Like it's just delicious. And then also your pan fried tofu slices.
Yes.
So you need to say what you do, because I don't do this. This is him. He came up with this.
Super complicated. Basically take a block of extra firm tofu, or firm tofu, I guess we have firm. Extra firm is better if you can find it for making solid things, but slice it to like 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch thick, and then press it in between some towels to get most of the moisture out, and then just pan fry it with a little bit of oil. Pan fry it until it's a little crispy on either side, and you basically have a fried egg. It's
weird.
It's like a fried egg you would get like in a McDonald's egg McMuffin, that like solid thing. It's extremely similar.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like he made it one day for breakfast, and I forget, you weren't even trying to do that.
I was just felt like cooking something. Yeah.
And then we just you pan fried the tofu, and then we had it like or you gave me a piece of it, and I was kind of like, that is like a fried egg. And so then we got toast out. We did the whole thing. It was like we had fried egg sandwiches that morning. It was so delicious. It was really, really good. So anyway, all right, cool. So that's a good one too. And yeah, I think that covers eggs. I think we're done now with all the stuff that we had come up with for eggs. And like I said, we've been vegan for so long, it's really hard to kind of go back and think about the eggy stuff. So also definitely, as we're going through these, if you have questions or you're like, well, what about something like this, or what about something like this, then please let us know in the comments down below. Oh wait, actually, I forgot. We did have one more thing for eggs. Extra firm tofu. Again, firm is okay. This is just the one I grab at Costco because I'm at Costco a lot. I prefer the extra firm sprouted tofu from Trader Joe's. Yes, Trader Joe's. One of my relatives, actually, who is a vegetarian, she's not vegan, but she's a vegetarian, she had issues with regular tofu, and it bothered her digestion, and so I suggested that she switch over to the sprouted tofu, and as soon as she did, it was fine, and she could eat tofu just fine, and she had no issues with it. So that's another thing in case you've ever had tofu and you were kind of like, I don't know, like I've never had that problem, but I guess some people do. So if you have sprouted tofu instead, that can help, and you can digest that better probably. Okay, so yes, you can use extra firm tofu cut up into like little cubes as the hard-boiled egg in like an egg salad, so like a fake egg salad, and then like with vegan mayo if you have to. I don't usually use, we don't really like do egg salad.
Mayonnaise is gross.
He doesn't like mayonnaise, whether it's vegan or not vegan. No mayonnaise. He's so picky. So
Does it taste like mayonnaise?
So also I make a chickpea tuna salad. It's not really tuna salad, it's chickpea salad. And then I put
I don't like that either.
He hates chickpeas. He hates it. You just hate everything. So anyway, it's based off of my grandmother's tuna salad recipe, which I need to like share that recipe. It's really good. I actually don't put mayo in it at all either. It's like completely oil free and all that. So it's, with the little extra firm tofu pieces, it's like the hard boiled egg in the tuna salad, but I do it with chickpeas instead. And then you add in dulse flakes, not only because they're really great for the iodine, but because they give that fishy taste that you're looking for with the tuna salad. Some people are looking for with the tuna salad.
I never liked tuna salad, and I don't like chickpeas. I said I don't like too many things already.
I know, it's amazing. But see, that's why you have to be here, I think, so that they're not like, I don't know, so that it's not just like...
These things are good if you like these things, but I don't like chickpeas. So.
Yeah, anyway. But my boys love it. They actually, when we all went vegan, in my grandma's tuna salad, it's just amazing. That was actually one of the things that they missed, was they missed tuna salad. It's because it's so delicious. And then I tweaked and worked at getting this chickpea salad recipe perfect, and it's pretty perfect now, so I'll share that eventually. But anyway, so that is something that I make a nice batch of it, and then we can just turn it into sandwiches, and I love it. Okay, cool. That's it for eggs, legit. All right, we're moving on to dairy substitutes. So obviously, and I just kind of categorize dairy, and again, like, it's been so long, I'm having a hard time remembering all of like the categories of dairy, but we're gonna try to.
There are many.
We're gonna try to hit the ones that we remember, that we used to use a lot. So milk obviously is like the first one that a lot of people think of, cow milk or whatever. The truth is now, as vegans, we just don't drink milk anymore. Don't drink glasses of milk. I don't know that you ever did.
Only when I was forced to. I was never a huge fan of milk.
Yeah, you did chocolate milk.
Yes.
Chocolate milk. But yeah, so we don't drink milk anymore. As a drink, our drinks are like sparkling water, coffee, tea, water, very rarely juice. We almost never have juice in the house because it's all sugary. But anyway, mainly water is our drink, or smoothies too, anyway, whatever. So, yeah, we don't really drink milk anymore, but different plant milks are good for different things too. So we'll try to share just like briefly, like a super brief, fast overview of which milks are good for which things. But number one, if you are transitioning into having no milk and you really miss milk and you miss that glass of milk, or you want a plant milk that tastes almost exactly like the cow milk that you remember, Oatly is the one that you're going to go for. Oatly, it's like a blue, I don't have any here because we don't buy it. It's a blue carton, right? Yes. And then the white carton is fat free, but the blue carton does have some oil in it. But I mean, that stuff tastes like milk.
That's why we don't buy it.
It was so funny.
It tastes so much like regular milk that I didn't want to drink it. I didn't like it.
So if you're looking for that, and like you're still used to that, and so yeah, we're not trying to be like mean or whatever, but it's like, yeah, your tastes change, or they do legitimately change. That like, I used to love milk. I used to drink glass after glass after glass of milk. Like, I loved it. And now, yeah, having the Oatly, it tastes so much like milk. And now my reaction is, oh, because it's just different taste. But that's informational for people who are looking to transition or can't find milk or want something that's going to taste like milk. Get Oatly. That's the one that tastes like milk. Actually, that was one of our friends. Her husband has finally admitted that he's lactose intolerant. It took him forever. It's like he didn't care. He'd still drink his milk even though he was lactose intolerant. And I told her, just get Oatly. Oatly is the one that you need to get for him so that he can try to like get away, because he is legitimately lactose intolerant. And so then, yeah, he got that, and then he's doing well now. Okay, so for us, our personal favorite milk for coffee is soy milk. So I like to purchase soy milk that is just soybeans and water. I don't like the fortified ones as much. It's like they change the flavor or whatever. And so this one is the one I typically get. It's only like $1.70 something, at least currently, at Trader Joe's. So this is primarily used for coffee. And so the ingredients are just water and whole organic soybeans. I also occasionally grab this one if I haven't gone to Trader Joe's, lately. This one is more expensive. It is a lot more expensive, but I can find this half-gallon size at Whole Foods. And this is, again, just water and organic soybeans. And this is our favorite for coffees. We just think it creams the best. Like, it just makes it milky the best. And then for homemade milks, so I also make cashew milk pretty often. We've almost always got this in our fridge. As far as I say, we don't drink milk. My daughter actually drinks a lot of the homemade cashew milk. This is chock full of selenium and iron and protein and zinc and all kinds of other stuff. Not calcium, which is typically what you think of for milk, but this is still full of so many other things. This is the easiest plant milk to make on your own at home. So I do a ratio of it's 1/4 per half cup. So it's a half cup of the cashews per cup of, oh, that seems really high. It's not that high.
I don't remember.
6 cups of water, 1.5 cups of cashews. So what is that? 1/4 cup per cup?
Yes.
1/4 cup per cup? No.
Yes.
1/2 cup per cup. No, it's 1/4 cup per cup. Hold on.
Public.
It is 1/4 cup per cup. Okay. Sorry. So like in this jar, typically what I would do is I will fill it, because I love using my ball jars. A lot of you know if you already watched the channel. It goes to 3 cups, or the measurements are on the side. So I do 3 cups of water and then 3/4 cup of cashews in the jar and let it sit for a little while. And then after a while, you just dump this into the blender and blend it very well. And then you just dump it back into the jar and then you have cashew milk. So you don't even have to strain it. And that's the reason that I love that the best. And also, like I said, I think this it's the most nutritious way to do it, because you're not straining out any of the stuff. You have the full nutrition of the cashews is suspended now in this, but you do have to shake it before you pour it. So anyway, that's the best and easiest, I don't know if it's the best, but it's the easiest homemade plant milk that you can make. So you can use really anything you want pretty much for baking. So various, like I use my cashew milk all the time for my baking. Any recipe that calls for milk, I just typically use the cashew milk. And then I will also mention that soy milk seems to be the one that separates the least. So for any recipes that require boiling, like if you're making chai with actual a milk on the stove, something like that, like the soy seems to be the best for something like that. And then obviously too, store-bought milks tend to stay together better. And then homemade milks almost always will separate, because of course with the homemade milk, there's nothing keeping it together. And I think soy milk is just different though too, that it naturally stays as a more mixture that more stays together, because it's actually cooked when you make it. So it's a little bit different. I don't know. Soy milk is just good. So canned coconut milk you would use for extra creamy applications, like even frostings. Like it's multi-use, so you can stick it in your fridge and then you'll get the layer of extra hard fat, which you can then use to turn into like frostings or things like that. So the canned coconut milk is very versatile when it comes to stuff like that. I pretty much never use that. I just use coconut milk like in a soup to make a creamy soup. So I have a black bean green chili creamy soup that I make that I use a can of coconut milk in. And then for curries, things like that. So the other thing I'd like to mention about coconut milk in particular is, because it's canned, it typically has a 3 to 4 year shelf life, depending on when you buy it, from the time of its manufacture, of course. And then the other great thing about this is that because it's so high in fat, this is a very high in calorie item. So this is a way to really drastically increase calories in your long-term food storage without worrying about, so for instance, for things like nuts, which go rancid pretty quickly, this is shelf stable for like 3 or 4 years at least. So it's like a little extra tidbit about coconut milk. I like to have some flats of coconut milk around, just for the idea of an emergency and having those extra calories on hand in kind of a smaller area.
Also, if you're into like the high fat coffee thing, I used to use just straight coconut milk, and I was trying it out for a while. It was supposed to be the greatest thing since coffee. Adding fat to your coffee, I didn't really like it, but
it was like coconut oil. People like blend it into the thing too. Yeah, but you're using coconut milk.
I was using coconut milk because it sweetens it a little bit and also adds some fat to it. So if you're into that, that's a
Yeah.
nice way of
It's
doing
like
that.
a keto thing or like a
Yeah.
vegan keto. There's
Instead
people
of-
who do
instead of-
vegan keto.
Yeah, instead of putting a stick of butter in there, you put a little coconut milk.
Yes. Oh, that's actually accidentally a really great transition because now we're going to be talking about butter. Um, so probably number one substitute for butter that I would typically use is coconut oil. That is just like the most natural substitute for that. Other oils too, depending on the reason that the butter is in there. If the butter is in there to create structure in the final recipe because it's like butter is solid at room temperature, then you're not going to want to just use a liquid oil. So again, that's kind of like where you're going to have to like think through why is this ingredient in this recipe, to sort of figure out, are you going to use coconut oil or other oils? Obviously too, margarine is another choice that you could use. So that's like a vegan butter is usually almost always typically just essentially a margarine, like a palm oil based solid thing. And that will be probably the easiest shift, like for cookies or whatever, because like coconut oil is not a good substitute for butter in cookies. So ideally what you would want is either a homemade vegan butter, which uses a plant milk and an oil, typically blended up with a little bit of salt and like some soy lecithin to keep it mixed so that the oil and the water don't just separate. You almost have to put something in there or else it's going to separate. So the soy lecithin is an emulsifier. That's what it is. And then it keeps it together. So that typically is what you can do. There's actually a homemade butter recipe that I have used before that turns out perfect. It's just the best ever. And that makes really great cookies as well. Otherwise, you can search, and there's more available now, but you can search for a cultured vegan butter in a store. And if you look at the ingredients, you should see something like milk, like cashew milk or whatever kind of milk, plus some sort of fat. And then that will let you know this is a butter. So this butter is a liquid and a fat. So the reason that butter is special is that it contains the milk solids as well as like it's fat, but there's also like milk in it. And so that's what causes it to brown in a skillet, because the part of the butter that's browning is like the milk solids that are in the butter. So when you're looking to substitute butter, because butter has a special chemistry to it. Sorry, I don't mean to like go off on this. I don't know if this is like super stupid, but so when you're looking to really substitute butter, especially like in a cookie, because cookies, like there's something about cookies. I keep mentioning cookies, but that's the hardest, like.
You can't, yeah, because if you mess up cookies, they turn into cake. Or they turn, if I do them, they turn into charcoal.
Well, it's because it's like because baking is chemistry, right? So it's like the changing an ingredient here and there. It's like there's a whole chemistry thing that's happening with cookies, and so it's like the egg replacer, and then a butter that still has a fat plus a milk solid in it is your best bet to getting a cookie that's like a cookie, like you remember cookies are. So anyway, Miyoko's butter in the store is a butter that has that milk, fat, and solid thing in there, and I use that, and that's great when I'm going to use a butter, because a lot of times I just don't feel like making my butter, even though I don't know how. I just don't feel like it. And then there are other brands available now that are doing that same thing. They're kind of culturing it, and then it's that same kind of chemical, or not chemical makeup, but you know what I mean. The fat plus the milk solids. Anyway. So, sorry, this video is getting so long. And then also there is cacao butter, which I'm mentioning is kind of an honorable mention. I like to use cacao butter in certain things to give an extra richness to chocolate recipes if it's something that doesn't require that like milk, fat, solid, whatever thing. Okay, so yogurts. The best vegan yogurt that we have found is the Forager brand organic cashew milk vanilla yogurt. Best one. You are a yogurt.
And their plain one is good too.
The plain is good too. Okay.
Yeah, it tastes like yogurt. Yeah.
Yeah, so you are the yogurt connoisseur. There's many things that you did not like, but you did love yogurt.
Yes.
And so this one is a good one.
It is a good one. Yeah, it's got the most similar texture. A lot of the vegan yogurts are very thin.
Right.
almost across the board. They're very thin.
Yeah.
So this one is definitely more solid.
Mm-hmm.
Not solid, obviously, but more yogurty.
Yeah.
And it's got that great zingy yogurt flavor.
Right. The culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but typically across the board, vanilla is your best bet. If you're trying a new brand of vegan yogurt, vanilla is probably your best bet. Something about the flavoring, it almost makes them powdery.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess they might not be using the best flavorings.
I don't know. So yeah, vanilla seems to be the best. We tried a lot of yogurts because this guy likes yogurt. So we've been trying a lot of yogurts, and that's the one that we like.
I get yogurt in my cup right now. So.
But yes, okay. So for ice creams, the most ice cream-like ice cream is the So Delicious brand cashew milk ice creams. Any of the So Delicious brand ice creams that are made with cashew milk specifically, those are your best bet for like an actual creamy ice cream. Nadamu is a very close second to that. Nadamu is great, and I actually end up usually, if we do get an ice cream, I get Nadamu because it has a lot less sugar and it still tastes amazing. It's like 13 grams of sugar or something per serving.
You know how they do it.
Yeah, versus 26 grams in like most other brands, and you're like, how do they have so little sugar and it still tastes so good? So yeah, Nadamu is the one that we tend to get just because it has less sugar in it.
Yeah, and they have a lot of interesting flavors too. So.
Yes, yeah, they have a lot more flavor selection than the cashew milk ones. Yeah, that is true. Okay, so for cheese, cheese. I guess the number one thing I would say is just give up. Like, it's just.
If you want the actual like block of cheese, you're not gonna find it.
It's not gonna happen.
There isn't one that's very good.
Not yet. Not yet. I'm sure they're working on it, but it's not yet.
They mostly end up being pretty blah. Oil.
Yeah.
If you try to melt it, it's going to get really oily.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah. There may be some good ones out there now. I know it seems like every day new brands are hitting the market, and it seems like they get better and better. So with that being said, the best one that we have found is Violife. And so I usually have, like, I don't even know how old this bag is. It's like
a couple weeks,
I don't know. It's pretty old, but like, I just mean as far as like, I buy one and then like, it takes us forever to go through it. So if we do a homemade pizza, we like to put a little sprinkle of this on top, just for a little bit of that taste. But it is not ever like super thick on there or whatever. But this is the best one, and we like this one the best. I like this one the best. You hate this one the least.
Correct.
Yes. But actually, otherwise, learning how to do your own homemade cultured cheeses would also probably be the best thing. Those come out closest in flavor to traditional dairy cheeses, probably because dairy cheeses are cultured. And like, the culture is what makes the food, not like the fact that you started off with cow milk versus goat milk, whatever. It's the culture that is changing that thing from what it was into the new thing, the cheese. And so when you're culturing, usually cashew based or whatever, and then it actually becomes like the flavor of cheese, but then the texture is not right. So it's definitely not easy to do the cheese. So anyway, but my faux Parmesan recipe, which I have mentioned already, is on the channel. This is a really good topping. So typically, actually a lot of times when we make our pizza, this is what we use. Just put all our toppings on, and actually my omega-3 pasta sauce, which is also a recipe that's already on the channel, and then do like whatever veggies or whatever we're putting on. Typically, it's a sourdough base I make out of my sourdough, and then we just sprinkle this on top, and it makes like, you grill it.
Yep.
It makes the best pizza in the history of pizza. I just like. We
should do a video on the grilled pizza sometime, maybe.
We should. I don't even miss cheese. Like, I don't know. It's not a big deal.
This stuff is awesome. I like to just eat it. Sage likes to eat piles of it. She'll just eat it with a spoon and give her a bowl of it.
She just wants it as a spoon. Yeah, it's really good. And I know everybody who's tried it says that it's really good. I'm not going to say it's necessarily 100% like Parmesan cheese, but it's like,
no,
it's really good.
It's really good, yeah.
Anyway, okay, so that's it for cheeses. Oh, yeah. No, it's not. I'm so sorry.
Not even close.
Gourmet Vegetarian Kitchen. If you want really a lot of recipes for culturing your own cheeses, check out Gourmet Vegetarian Kitchen. It's a channel on YouTube that I really love. And then you make an amazing nacho cheese sauce with potatoes and carrots, which is a video that we have to get on the channel for sure. And so
it has tricked a lot of people. I took it to work and people were eating it and they had no idea it was not nacho cheese sauce.
Yeah.
Really good.
If you don't tell people, they don't know. But yeah, and like I said, it's just made out of potatoes and carrots.
Yeah, it's all whole food, oil free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. And then cashews too. So you would use cashews to make a really creamy, cheesy thing like or dairy like rich like Alfredo sauce for your pasta. It makes such a good Alfredo sauce that he hates it. Because he hates Alfredo sauce. So like it's just really good. It makes a lot of really yummy stuff. You could do a lot with cashews. A really good super gloopy, drippy macaroni and cheese sauce, which he also hates because he doesn't like cheesy macaroni and cheese.
I like dry foods, I guess.
So it's really good. So anyway, the very final thing is meat substitutes. So I guess first thing is to say we don't really eat fake meats. It's just not something that we eat.
There's a huge variety of them out there now.
Huge. And I think a lot of the like this right here, like I said, this is like a bag. It's been in our fridge for forever. It takes forever to go through this just because we tend to eat more whole foods. We don't tend to eat the kind of packaged stuff. It's like this stuff and then like the fake meats and things like that you buy in the store. I think that's the reason that people think that eating vegan is so expensive. It's not.
It's extremely expensive to eat that way. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is like, the way we eat is super cheap. It's like cheap, man. So anyway, but yes. So
there's some really good tasting fake meats out there.
Yeah, they're delicious.
Yeah, they're extremely expensive and not necessarily healthy.
Right. Gardein is a really great bet. Like if you're looking for something you want a yummy thing, especially the meatballs. The meatballs are crazy good. And then like Beyond Burger, Impossible Burger, anything by Beyond is really good. Like a really good like meaty substitute. The Impossible is like, again, it's
getting too close.
It's that thing where you bite into it and you're like, are you sure this is not meat? Like I remember we had it, like I think our anniversary one year, I think we went to Cheesecake Factory and we called ahead and found out they're Impossible, because some of the Cheesecake Factories make their Impossible Burger with egg. So you have to ask them, is there egg in your patty? Like, is it vegan? So we did all that. We found out which buns are vegan. You have to do your legwork a bit. And so then we went and we had Impossible Burgers on our anniversary one year. And yeah, it was like, you just had to just go 100% on trust that they did not just give you a big pile of beef. Because it was like...
no differentiation in taste or texture.
It was, yeah, honestly kind of freaky. Again, it's like your tastes change and your mentality changes. And it's like biting into it. It was kind of like you had to almost like, I had to like force myself to finish it. I almost didn't really, and it was delicious, but I like didn't enjoy it. It was weird.
Yeah, unless I saw the package, it's like,
okay. Did you really, like it wasn't meat? You promised it's not meat? Like, yeah, it was really creepy. So
tricking me.
Anyway, okay, sorry. So yes, there are definitely some ones out there that are really good, or like too good, I guess, depending on your opinion. But yeah, we rarely consume those things. We almost never do. Yeah. When we first went vegan, I think Gardein meatballs were like the number one thing that we had. Every week we have like pasta with Gardein meatballs. It's been forever since we've done that now. But yeah, it was just super yummy. But yeah, mainly, of course, if you're looking for your protein substitute, our primary protein is beans. We just eat beans a lot of times.
Super cheap and readily available.
Yeah, and very versatile, honestly. You can turn them into almost anything. Tempeh, you can grab the tempeh, I guess, to show people kind of what it looks like. So I buy it on Azure Standard, and I get like a full, it's like each one of these is a pound. And you can buy it like in bulk like that, because honestly, the tempeh from the store is like really tons of extra plastic packaging. This does obviously still have some plastic, but it's a lot less buying it like this. And so I just get a giant freezer box of it, and then we have tempeh like this, and this is a fermented soybean product. So this is also probably good for people who have had trouble with soy. This is probably more natural or more close to its whole food form than tofu is, because this is still like whole soybeans and it's been fermented into this cake. This is also the most effortlessly meaty texture.
Yep.
So if you're looking for like something that you can just like slice and toss into a salad as like chicken, this would probably be like with your Whole Foods options. There's obviously like fake chicken options out there, but for a Whole Foods option, this is probably the best one. And then
you have time to marinate it for a couple hours, then it's even better. And
then like pan fry it a little bit. Like you can do it oil free. You can pan fry with like maple syrup instead. Oh my gosh, it is crazy. And like a little liquid smoke, and it's so good. Anyway, but yeah, this is really delicious. So that's a great like meat substitute to have on hand. And then also obviously just tofu, again, mentioning tofu. If you freeze it and then let it, so freeze it solid, and then you have to set it in your fridge and let it defrost for a few days after it's frozen solid. But after it's been frozen, this also becomes almost like effortless, meaty texture. Not 100% because you had to freeze it first and then wait for it to defrost. But it becomes something that you could just like slice and then it just already tastes like meat. It's something about freezing it changes the texture of it. But then you could even go further, marinate it, air fry it, do whatever. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Like, it's so good. But then we typically don't do that just because, I don't know. I keep wanting to say I'm lazy, but I'm not lazy. I am just efficient. Like,
other better things to do.
I have
we're fine with eating it just the way it is.
I have a lot going on. So yeah, I do also, we have our tofu like nugget recipe where we have the tofu that tastes kind of like chicken nuggets. And so that is also in the vegan home cooking playlist. So this, you can turn it into something that tastes a lot like Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets. It's delicious. So tofu. And then for more of a prepper standpoint, long-term storage, a lot of people already who are not even vegan are already storing textured vegetable protein. This is just a soy flour product, and then it ends up giving a ground meat texture to things. And then this is kind of like tofu, I guess, where it doesn't really have a lot of its own flavor, and it kind of just takes on the flavor of what's around it. But that is something that has a shelf life of anywhere from 10 to 20 years. So that's a really great store option for very long-term storage. And then for kind of the taste of meat, if you're looking for that taste, that kind of, I don't know, umami, dark taste or whatever, mushrooms are really great at giving that taste. And then also I had mentioned some liquid smoke. You can throw some liquid smoke in there, and then that's it gives it a really delicious kind of meaty flavor, because you're looking a lot of times for that umami meat taste. And so, or cooked meat taste, and this helps achieve that a lot. So you can create burgers, bean burgers. But if you don't want to just have a giant slab of what tastes essentially like refried beans warmed up in a patty, it's gross. Even I don't like it. I even don't like it.
It's real unsatisfying.
So take tempeh, crumble it up, and then mix the tempeh into your bean burger, and that gives it a lot more of that texture. It's much better. And then also crumbled up tempeh is a great ground meat thing, which you can put in your pasta or whatever, and then it gives that chew. And it's really great. Also apparently, I haven't tried it yet, but apparently ground walnuts do a really great job of creating meaty texture without it just being totally beany. And then for a steak or a solid slab of chicken, again, we just don't really do meat anymore, but you can grill your tofu or your tempeh slabs, marinate them like Mr. Vegan Prepper was saying, and then freezing tofu will give you the meatiest texture. And then also, obviously, there's vital wheat gluten, which is what a lot of faux meats are made out of. So we've got just vital wheat gluten here I bought at Azure Standard. So this is what you would use to make. A lot of the faux meats are actually made out of vital wheat gluten. The stranding effect, that gluten that it does when you do it right, it'll actually create strands in your meat, almost like meat has faux strands. Or no, not meat. Your faux meat, regular actual animal flesh has the strands in it, And so the vital wheat gluten helps replace that texture. If you're really looking for something that tastes like meat, vital wheat gluten is going to give you the most meaty texture. And then so for chicken nuggets, so these are more for the experience. So I mentioned my tofu chicken nuggets, But then those are like little squares. But I also have a falafel mix, like a bake that I just make with chickpea flour and spices, and then mix it up with like lemon juice and water. And then you can put it on a baking sheet in like the shape of chicken nuggets basically, and bake it like that. And I'm not going to say it tastes like chicken nuggets, but you can dip them in ketchup, and it's like, yeah, it's still good. Like, it's a good experience of like a chicken nugget type thing. If you have kids, especially, and you're like wanting like an easy finger food to make, that's actually really fast. So that's another recipe I have to get on the channel. And then I already mentioned ground meat, crumbled tempeh, but definitely look into raw walnut taco meat. So like walnut taco meat, usually it's a raw vegan recipe. Delicious.
Yep. I think we had it for the first time at a raw vegan restaurant.
Yes.
And it was surprising.
It blew us away. It was really good. And then we've made it since at home, and it's just good every time. It's delicious. And then for a shredded meat, like the carnitas, things like that, we use unripe jackfruit, usually canned, actually always canned. I think sometimes it comes in little like packets or something, but it's canned. And mushroom stems. So like when you pop your stems off of your mushrooms, if you save them and you take 2 forks and shred it, just like you did with, you know, your meat back in the day, into shredding, and you end up with the shreds, and then you can turn that into carnitas with like all the spices and the peppers and the onions and all that stuff. And it's really good.
Yeah. I don't like the jackfruit ones because it reminds me of pork carnitas. And it's got that same kind of like slightly greasy, slimy kind of thing that pork carnitas have. I just never like that.
Yeah.
I always wanted pork to be very dry. So for the same reason, I don't really like the jackfruit shredded stuff.
It does great in like shredded chicken recipes too.
Yeah. So
but
if you're
like
into that, then it's great.
If you like carnitas,
if you like carnitas, that's awesome.
then you will like the jackfruit carnitas. They're so delicious. I feel like that's another one of those ones that was like indistinguishable from meat for me. So anyway, this is getting really long. Thank you for sticking around. If you have stuck around this long, I can't believe it.
We buy these sometimes too.
Oh yeah, those are great. So they do technically have some oil in them, but yeah, they're good. Like they're a really yummy thing, and they're definitely more.
They're not a hamburger, but
right.
They're their own thing.
They're more natural than a lot of the options that are out there, and that's just more of a convenience food because, you know, occasionally we still do need a convenience food. Okay, I can't do everything.
Everything from scratch.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, but I will say for further reading. This book is great for like, especially like absolute beginners to veganism, or if you're looking for a lot of like really well laid out, like I feel like the first section of the book is worth the price of admission here, just for all of the like the tests they do, and they show you how to make everything better, and it's just fantastic. But for like the seriously serious out there, Homemade Vegan Pantry. So this is like probably my go-to cookbook that I'm constantly going into. She has recipes for homemade vegan butter, everything. Homemade meats out of the vital wheat gluten. Homemade, I mean, it's just like your whole pantry. Mayonnaise, ketchup, all kinds of, every condiment you can think of. Every, like this woman, this is it right
How to
here.
make everything that you would put into a recipe.
Right. It's just so good. This is the best book ever, so I very highly recommend that. And my gosh, that was a lot of information.
Yeah.
It probably should have been 3 videos. Okay. Anyway, but I guess that's it. Hopefully you found it helpful at all. And as always, we hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.